Hey everyone, this is an older recorded video, but we thought it'd be perfect for the Beyond the Play channel, so we hope you guys enjoy this one.
God of War Ragnarok is officially out. It's been out for about a week now, and I got my Mjolnir right here, and we're about to rank every single God of War game from worst to best. Now, I'm very excited to talk about this because I haven't done this since the original 2018 God of War, which I actually got time to actually go back and replay all these games besides one, but I have some nostalgic bits about one of them that I'm going to be able to talk about, and I don't even think you actually can play it, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can find an emulator on it. But besides that, if you're new here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below your guys' thoughts. But without further ado, let's get into this ranking right now. Coming in last place, in ninth place, which maybe some of you guys don't even know about this game, it's called God of War Betrayal. This is a 2D side-scrolling phone mobile God of War game, which released, I think, in 2007. Now, I'm going to be a little bit honest here. This is the first God of War game I ever got to play. Now, I had a PlayStation 2, but for me, my family, I never really, dove into God of War yet, but after getting this mobile game, the game on my mom's credit card and putting it on her Verizon bill, I was actually kind of satisfied to see how impressive God of War's 2D side-scrolling actually moved the style of gameplay to a mobile setting, and I actually think, while it's clearly simple, Betrayal has a lot of violent action. Some of the puzzles are okay, but I actually found the spin-off to be a lot of fun, and maybe it's not one of the best God of War games, but, you know, when you look at this franchise, which almost every single one of the games is great, this is a game that I found to be fun, but in the context of it all, this is more just a nice introduction to God of War, and that's why it's my last place. And that brings me to my number 8, which is God of War Chains of Olympus. Now, this is actually the first game in the franchise to be on a handheld system. It was on the PSP, it's a prequel, proven to the franchise, but unfortunately, some of my issues with this kind of just result in two things. One, the game is way too short. The game does not have a lifestyle to it, where I'm not like, this is a definitive must-have game for this entire franchise, as well as I found some of the puzzles just be very boring. The combat's still fun because it's clearly God of War, but incidentally, this is just one of those games that I never really think about too often. And when I think about the PSP games, there's another God of War game on here that I would rather talk about. Now this brings me to my number 7, which is God of War Ascension. It's painfully clear, when I played this game for the first time actually a couple years ago, and then actually definitively going back through it and taking my time without any pre-notions of what I had expected for this game, it's clear God of War Ascension was kind of like the last thing that Santa Monica really had. And I think if it wasn't for this game, to be honest, performing the way it did, as well as getting the reception that it did, I don't think Santa Monica would have gone in the direction that 2018's God of War did, which completely changed the entire franchise. And that's the thing. This game is built around Kratos breaking his oath to Ares' screams, and unnecessarily, the execution for me was not the best. And I feel like when I played this game, there's two big issues with this game. One, I found the story to just be completely fucking boring. I do not care about this story whatsoever. I don't even think it's needed. But also, some of the combat, I actually think is some of the best in the entire franchise. Not the way that you get combos, because while I like the maneuvering, the dodging, I hate that that has to be a part of it all. But overall, I did still really like the combat. I thought it was very fluid in motion. From what I remember playing back on the old days of the multiplayer when it was open, that was a blast too. God of War Ascension, I don't think is the worst God of War game, nor do I even think it's close to being the worst. It's just a very unnecessary game, as well as the last two games on this list as well, but I can still say at the very least that this is a fun God of War game. If you just want more hack and slashing, this is one of those. Now this brings me to my number 6, and we have God of War Ghost of Sparta. This is the second PSP outing, and for me, definitively, probably the best PSP game I ever played. Ready at Dawn took everything it learned from the first time around and crafted a way better game that shows new layers to Kratos, but also at the same time informs much about the game. Ghost of Sparta relies less on the scale and more kind of on the creativity of everything kind of going about this, and that's kind of one of the things that I actually was kind of into this all about. The gameplay, the puzzles to be better in this one. I found actually the more personal, slower story for this is actually one of the strongest of the entire series. At the time when this game released, this was the main reason to get a PSP, and if you still have never played Ghost of Sparta, I highly recommend it. Now, my number 5, in the middle of this list, we have the original God of War. It's always special for me to kind of go back and play this one because, again, this was not my first God of War game like it was for probably many of you. I played Betrayal first on the mobile phone and then actually went back and played the original God of War. And this game, for me, was honestly great. Like, as a hack and slash from the past, you can go back and play this and still find a lot of greatness in here. There's a lot of fast-paced energy and really much just rawness to the violence and the performance in here that I was just really all about. And the fact that you can actually feel a sense of progression throughout the entire thing, I actually find the upgrade system, while simple, to be very into it all. And I would even say that the upgrade system through this game and God of War 2 are better than any of the other God of War games, just in general because of how simple and how effective it feels throughout this. On top, I actually found that Kratos, while I feel like this game is now elevated a bit more because of all the stuff that I have seen in 2018 as well as 2022's God of War Ragnarok, the way that they actually introduced the character of Kratos and steadily decide to invest us more in his journey throughout this game, I actually found was one of the best aspects. Now, honestly, when it comes down to this game, the reason it's kind of lower on this list, I think all the God of War games here and on up are great. This one, while it's a strong debut for the franchise, I found that the puzzles, like, going back are, like, almost insufferable and honestly really boring. In the end of the day, hurts the pacing of the game and is one of the main reasons I don't go back too often to replay this one. 4 is God of War 2, definitively one of the best sequels of all time, improving virtually every single thing about the original one and tightening it up to make one of the best narrative and grand spectacles that you could have played on the PlayStation 2 and honestly could still play today. What really sticks in this one is the way that it again furthers more on the world and the characters than everything we had seen before, and I found that the mythological lore for me in this one was again even added in more, and I'm a big mythological person when it comes down to that. Traversing all the different environments was a lot of fun, and even in general, the puzzles in here I found to be even more creative than the original. The gameplay, all of its sorts of things like that was just badass, and ultimately, when you look at this is a game that knows exactly what it needed to be, and it upped the ante from every single thing from the original game and just gave me a very satisfying sequel that prepares us for one of the best games of all time. Now, my number 3 is God of War 2018. God of War 2018 was a game-changing. I think 3 and on up, these are perfect games and definitively some of the best exclusives ever on the Sony consoles. And now God of War 2018 was this big change. It opened up the world, it changed it all, and it completely did a different version of Kratos, but it is the same version of Kratos, just older, wiser, and trying to be a little bit more calmer since he now has a son. For me, the best elements of this game are all the subtle moments, the subtle sequences between him and his son, which really much formed this emotional bond throughout the entire story that I truly was engaged with from top to bottom. And I honestly, deep down, could not even imagine how wonderful this game would be without that relationship. I love that we're dealing with the Norse gods. There's some big surprises in here, specifically when the stranger arrives at your door for the very first time. And honestly, for me, the only reason this is only at my number 3 and not my number 2, because before, if you watched my previous rankings on other channels, this was my number 1. After replaying all the games, I still find this game to be perfect, besides some of the repetitive boss nature stuff with the ogres or whatever the hell they're called. They just really killed some of the gameplay, and some of the enemy variety is not there, which does make the pacing lack at certain points. But again, at the heart of its story, it's still beautiful, and it sets up for something so important in Ragnarok, which we'll talk about soon. At my number 2, it is God of War 3. This is, the end to the original trilogy and the grand finale of everything, and it delivered on every single thing that you wanted it to be. It honed in the combat, it gave exhilarating ending finale stuff, and honestly every single one of the set pieces in here and boss battles I still think are the best in the entire series. They still make my jaw drop all these years later. The graphics still really much hold up, and it's a satisfying conclusion for this part of Kratos' life, and as well is now elevated by the information that we learn in 2018's God of War as well as Ragnarok 2. Seeing where Kratos is now and just hearing him discuss his previous life makes me care and love more about Kratos on reflection of these games, and seeing how in general causing him to, why is he doing these fights? Why was he doing that? What was he fighting for? And how does he feel after that? It's a wild ride in this game for sure. But I do feel like even though that they were executing their vision to such a top tier talent, and the bosses are still the best in this one, and the combat and everything, there is one more game above this all. And for me, maybe you'll say it's a personal bias, maybe you'll say it's a recency bias. For me, it's not. This was the pure spectacle. But at my number 1, it is God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok is not just one of the best games of the year, it is one of the best games I've ever played. It's one of maybe my third favorite PlayStation exclusive of all time. It's the first God of War game that the second I beat it, I continue to keep playing it, even though I've beaten it. I just want to go through all the sides. I want to explore more stuff, and I can't wait for New Game Plus mode so I can go back through it. There's very few games that I felt that I've needed to go back through it right away, and if it wasn't for New Game Plus not being available on day one, I would be going back through this game right away. Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 are the first games that I ever went back through immediately after beating. That is unlike me. If you've played me, I'm a very busy guy. I move on to the next thing pretty fast when it comes down to games. Not this one in any case. And I found that God of War Ragnarok was the personal story that I've wanted to see between Kratos, and seeing how that relationship now grows from 2018 with him and his son Atreus, and seeing how Kratos is smiling now. He's hugging his son, and I know I'm not going to get into spoiler details. We have a spoiler review coming out very soon on this channel. I am just personally invested in every single thing within this guy's story, and within his son's story as well, and all the different dynamics that they actually elevate in here. The gameplay, the traversing, it all feels like the mix of the greatest aspects of God of War 3 as well as God of War 2018. And at the same point in time, as bombastic and big as this game can get. And while the boss battles never hit God of War 3, they absolutely excel from God of War 2018, and I found myself completely invested from top to bottom. I genuinely had no idea where the story was going, and by the ending of this game, I was an emotional wreck with the final few moments. It is some of the most emotional, riveting stuff that I've seen in the game, and the fact that as big as it can get, it's still at the core is a father and son story. And I love that they were able to still hone in on that. It was my one worry going into this game, that they were just going to go big and not worry about the smaller moments. But genuinely they did, and I would argue this has better smaller moments than any of the other games on the PlayStation lifecycle, and that's even going to The Last of Us, which I think has some of the most beautiful moments ever. But The Last of Us does try to build up the horror and the ante for certain things within that game. God of War Ragnarok, at the same time, always goes back to what made it: harmony. And I love that, and it's the best God of War game yet. And again, maybe it's a recency bias. We'll find out in a couple years. I'll definitely probably re-rank this when the next God of War games come out. But thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. You guys are really the best. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. This is Critics Play Games. We love talking games over here. We got quite a few more content coming up from the other crew members. So, of course, until next time, stay classy and keep playing games.